The social justice aspect of sustainability in your supply chain can't be overlooked. In fact, that's been the leading area when most organizations look at their supply chain and their value chain. When things are made, how is it being made? How are we impacting workers? What about the human rights? What are the working conditions that are being there? Is there sweatshop labor? Is there slave labor? What's going on in terms of human trafficking? Are things being made fair trade? Is it going to be better for the farmer, the person on the other end? And there's a number of case studies where this is showing that it's not only by looking at these issues, is it not only better a product, yes, it may be a little more expensive, but not that much more expensive. A lot of times people find financial bottom line benefit to it, but it's way better for them from a community, environmental, worker, and societal standpoint at the same time. Theo Chocolate, for example, which is based in Seattle, they wanted to really look at their supply chain transparency with their customers. So they actually decided they were going to utilize a cocoa bean that had a price structure and incentives that actually was not only finding the best chocolate, but they wanted to find a way that the chocolate they were buying, they make sure that the farmers were getting paid and paid a livable wage, and it could improve the farmer's profit margin, because if the farmer was being paid more, they were going to take better care of the supply chain that they're providing to Theo Chocolate. And by doing this, actually, by having that kind of fair trade certification, Theo Chocolate has been an award-winning place to not only work, but people are buying their chocolates because they want to buy where their values are. Now, they only experienced a 2% increase to their actual cost to the consumer. But by doing that, they were able to actually increase their compensation to their producer, to that farmer, by 20%. So a little, very small, a few cents on the dollar impact to the end consumer is having a massive impact from a social justice perspective throughout their supply chain and the farmer at the end of it. SABMiller, which you might know from Miller Coors or South African Brewing, they established a new supply chain with local farmers in Uganda to make a beer called Eagle Lager. And when they did this, they found a way that they were actually, helping the farmers' income. It was an intentional movement to find a way that they could increase the income to the farmers by about 15 million, and they could actually help the government with its tax revenue, get about 70 million on that. They found a way by, working with the local farmers in the supply chain, that they were actually able to find a way that 93 million liters of water was being recycled back from the plant back to locals. And by doing this, it increased the sales and profitability of Eagle Lager. And it took 20% market share of the beer in the country of Uganda, which had sales values of over $3 billion. This was a way of reaching out and engaging with the local community and finding ways that not just about, the best, cost savings, but how could we do better as a company in a country with these farmers who are really struggling? And by doing that, they gained a lot of consumer, advocacy and brand value, and people were buying that, and it ended up helping their profit margins in the end. Starbucks has taken this issue very seriously. In fact, they implemented a transformation agenda, which included, but wasn't limited to, just the coffee and farm equity program. But they are now the largest fair trade certified coffee purchaser in the world. And you might think, okay, does that mean that I'm paying more for my daily Starbucks? Well, they found that by doing this, they saw a 12% increase in revenue from the previous year. Same store sales went up 7%, and their operating income went up 23%. So it didn't impact them negatively. Sure, there was some cost, but the high end and what it brought in on that revenue side way outgained whatever costs were offset. From a social justice perspective, they were able to help 47,000 smaller farming families, and they were able to make sure that 90% of their coffee that's sold is ethically sourced. In the garment industry, which is where a lot of the social justice movement started in supply chain, you have a factory like the Chittagong Garment Factory in Bangladesh, where they just decided, you know what, we're going to provide a workplace health program at our factory. And you might think, oh, well, what is a garment factory doing having a workplace health program, having medical on site? Well, you know what they found? They saw an 18% decline in absenteeism. That meant people were coming to work more often. They saw a 46% decrease in staff turnover in the first 18 months, which meant they weren't having to train, rehire, recruit new employees, having all the mistakes that would happen, and that by keeping more of their workforce there, they were having fewer mistakes, able to put out a higher quality product. Their net savings on this was $7,100 in the first year, but it was and had a payback within 3 years. So you think, oh, well, we can't just treat our workers right. Yes, you can. And you know what? You'll actually make money by doing that, have a healthier workforce, have a more committed workforce, you'll have a more productive workforce, and you'll have less turnover. Following up on that, the HERP projects that are out there in the world, they're all about empowering low-income women who are working in global supply chains. And so this was implemented across about 73 different garment factories in India and Bangladesh. And you can look at these different impacts. They saw their efficiencies improve, their absenteeism go down, their turnover go down. They saved $27,000. They saw all these different impacts from a social perspective. These decreases in child labor and harassment and forced labor and people doubling up on their books, and they found that they were able to actually have this dramatic impact, make their factories better, have a better product, save money, be more efficient, have more dedicated employees, have lower turnover all at the same time, and doing that all while making money. So when you look at your supply chain, we looked at it from a bottom-up perspective, but use that social screen. Obviously, if you're in a country that has very strict governance structures and legal structures to protect workers, you want to look at that. But you want to peel that onion off. Look at it there, but also look overseas and find a way to look through your supply chain, find where social injustice is, or if there's any aspect of human trafficking or slavery that's out there. Do a social justice screen, maybe work with nonprofits who are able to do that. Look at cultural norms and things that your business or organization does within the supply chain, how that may impact gender inequalities or cultural differences. If you think about it, just by taking that look, you'll be really thinking about something. I mean, many of us, we've gone to, grocery stores and we've bought shrimp and we've never even thought about where are these coming from. You might think, are they coming locally? But if they're coming internationally, have they been made with slaves over in Thailand? And you may never even want to think about that, or it's never even been on your radar. But these are the type of issues that if we can address and you can take a screen, you'll be able to find a way to make sure that your supply chain is more socially just. And you'll find that your consumers will reward you for it, your employees will reward you for it, and you'll have a better impact on the worker and the community that you're dealing with at the same time.